Yes, welcome. The toad is probing again. The beast, he's in. Shut up, beast. Not your turn yet. And joining us for the probe, Professor James Goff, the co-director of the University of New South Wales Australian Tsunami Centre. How many tsunami centres in the world, James?
Oh, yeah, good question. Let's go for about 3 or 4.
3 or 4. The main one is in Japan. Is the word tsunami Japanese?
It is indeed. Means harbour wave.
Another great interest of yours, apart from tsunamis, of course, is faux science, or made-up stories about science.
Yeah.
And you sort of collect and sort of study these in their way. What are some of your best ones in this area?
Well, I think the best one I ever came across, and I really got into a big debate over it with a couple of people who we won't mention, but there was this very large, apparently a really large something that hit in southern New Zealand, and it blew up, and there was a massive great tsunami generated that caused nasty waves around Sydney and things like that as well. And one of the big explanations that was given for this was that there was this UFO that came flying into the solar system. It bounced off the moon and it hit the ground just south of Dunedin.
Yes.
Yeah. So what would it have been really? What was the big thing that fell in the ocean?
Well, it wasn't a big thing at all, and it didn't fall in the ocean. That was the whole thing. It was actually a landslide these people were talking about. But you know, details.
And this sort of stuff gets in the road of your work, really, doesn't it? So you spend a lot of time scratching your head thinking, how did they get this idea, or?
You spend a lot of time having to sort of say it's wrong, refute it, and say, look, it's wrong because of this, this, and this, which means that I'm not working on stuff I'd like to work on. You know, that I should be working on that's important. You keep on having to put out these fires.
What's the best way of starting a fire? What's the best way of writing a press release? So maybe if I said something like, there's a big tsunami in New Zealand, the fullback for the All Blacks fell in the ocean, caused an enormous amount of waves. Take that, James Goff.
Yeah, that's true, and that would take away several years of my career.
Right. Yeah. So you study what to become a tsunami expert?
Ah, me. Well, I didn't study tsunamis at all to become a tsunami expert, and I think that's very important, you know.
So what brought you to your current role? How did you manage to kind of be in this position?
Finding evidence of a lot of old tsunamis is where I kind of got into where I was. To get to this point, you've got to understand the sort of what's happening in the world, the processes that are going on. You know, like the wind blows, or the waves come in and do this, and it's just trying to understand what's out of the ordinary. You know, because a tsunami is something kind of weird. It doesn't happen all the time, and so to find these things in the geology, it's something odd.
You mean if a tsunami hit Australia, you might find mullet around Alice Springs?
You could find mullet around Alice Springs.
You're more likely to find mullet in Mount Druitt. That's
true. No, but is that how it works? You find things that shouldn't be there in the fossil record?
Pretty much, yeah, exactly that. I can think of a case in, okay, we'll choose New Zealand again, where you've got, for example, bits of broken up canoe mixed up with bits of soil, mixed up with old fish bones and human bones, and they're sitting there in a wetland. What the heck are they doing there?
Right. How did you find that, though? How did it's there sitting in a wetland.
Yeah.
You think you stumble across it, or you think somebody else tips you off that it's there?
It's a bit of both.
Right.
I mean, in some cases you get a nose for it after a while. You look at a place and you go, oh, that's pretty good. That's a place I'd look. On the other hand is you can read a lot of information and talk to people, and they say, oh, there could be something funny down there. You might want to have a look.
And can I ask, do they have a different characteristic? Like, is the Indian Ocean tsunami and the Japanese tsunami, are they sort of, do they look the same, do the same sort of damage, or are they completely unique events?
Those two, pretty much do the same amount of damage because they sort of came from the same type of source. Bloody great underwater earthquake, basically. Other ones, if you, for example, a volcano blows up or something like that, different type of thing, really big to start with, and then it kind of gets very small quite quickly, and so the damage is a bit different.
Tsunamis off South Africa are incredibly arrogant, but the ones off Japan are immensely polite. Yeah. That's what. It's a cultural thing.
Well, thanks for coming in, James. Stay safe and keep hanging on to that trowel no matter how difficult it gets. Join us again when the toad goes probing.